The best part of your week is about to begin. This is the time where we talk shop, swap stories, and share lessons from our wild adventures in the creative industry. With each and every lovingly crafted episode, we strive to bottle that magic, warm, electric feeling you get after coffee with a new friend or attending a fantastic breakout session at a creative conference. You might start as strangers, but you'll leave as friends. Buckle up, settle in, and get ready for this episode of Making a Mark. Hello and welcome, gang, to another wonderful episode of Making a Mark. I am joined as all. Actually, no, my dear friend, I'm running through the script here, and I'm realizing you can't say always because Ashley's not here. She's out on vacation. I think she's in Hawaii, which is super cool for her. So I dredged up this old guy, America's sweetheart, Dustin Cooper.
What's up, everyone? Thanks for having me back.
Coming in full blast with the energy today. I love it. I know we haven't done freelance Fridays in many moons, but for whatever reason, I'm always expecting you to be in your truck at Taco Bell
Yes.
whenever we go live for any reason whatsoever.
This is a bit different. I've been working on my basement setup here, so I was like, I want to try and do more stuff down here. So,
You feeling good?
yeah, feeling
Nice.
good.
I know you've been
Less
talking
Taco
about doing
Bell in my
stuff for a
life.
while. That it looks sick back there.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on like lighting and stuff like that. So,
It's so wild to me how much of a difference like good lighting or like light placement can do for a
Mhm.
space, even if it's just like a single light fixture or, depending on what you're doing. But yeah, man, I'm excited to have you here today.
Yeah, man.
We're going to be talking about crazy client stories, or I should say crazy project stories, because sometimes it's not the client, sometimes it's the circumstances. But before we jump into any of that stuff, I would love to bring our wonderful guest, Mr. David Navejas, on stage. How are you
What's
doing today,
up,
big
y'all?
dog?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Thank you so much for having me on, man. Love being
Absolutely.
here.
Yo,
Absolutely. For those of you that don't know, David Navejas, better known as DNG Creative, is, in my opinion, and probably, I think it's an objective statement, is like one of the OGs in the church creative industry. And again, like I talk about the guys that I was calling early in my career, like, hey, how do you do this? What does a client work like?
Mhm.
David was one of the guys that I reached out to and was super open-handed and generous with the advice. Hey, Dustin in the chat today.
Yeah, same with me, man. DNG was always the guy that I went to for advice. So, like, hey, man, I'm charging $10 a graphic. Like, should I up my price? And he was like, yeah, you should definitely up your price.
That's
So we
hilarious.
came a long way.
I
Well,
love it.
what's funny is we've all kind of came up at the same time, and
Yeah.
now 8 years later, it's like a whole slew of designers, young designers, which is amazing to see, you know. And hey, we're still out here
We're still
making
here.
some noise.
I love it. So yeah, obviously got a lot of reps, a lot of history in the room, which is cool. And so I would assume at some point in your wanderings, as in you guys have been freelance pretty much that whole time, right? Like David, you were coming up on 10 years last time I think we talked.
I'm coming up on it, so I'm already 7 years this year, and then next year, obviously, going into 8.
Nice.
I might have told you wrong. I'm terrible with numbers. I started in 2016, so you can do the math.
Yeah, that sounds like not quite 10 years yet because it's
Yeah,
it's 2023. I don't know. Yeah, who
I
cares?
might have
Who cares
said,
about
I might have
numbers?
said, yeah, I might have said I have my sight on 10 years because most businesses, most entrepreneurs fail after
Yeah.
before 10. So once I have my sights set on 10 and see where we go from there.
Yeah.
That is a long time to be doing anything.
I went out on my own in 2013, so this would be my 10th year.
Nice.
That's wild.
Other than my short stint at the company we don't speak of for 4 months, I've been on my own. So
What
yeah,
a wild journey. Well, cool. Yeah, certainly that little era of our lives was ripe for some stories. but like I'm thinking about like old days of Josh doing client work. Like back in the day, like at the first agency I was at, I was building a lot of websites, and it was like one of my first projects. And I think I've shared this maybe with you, Dustin, before, but you guys know like TBN, like the big Christian broadcast network.
Been there.
So believe it or not, there's like a minor league version of that. There's like small, local, crappy
Lowercase
Christian
TBN.
television. Yeah, lowercase TBN. It's like wish.com TBN.
Yeah.
So if you don't like TBN, boy, you're going to love this. This is just, it's great.
Wow.
So this is the client, right? And it is and you know, I've seen churches that are run by like a family, and I've seen businesses run by a family. Some of them are great. Most of them are not. Most of them, people are getting positions and pay raises for odd reasons. And this one, yeah, it's like basically everyone in the building is married to each other or blood or something. And so like I walk in and I'm like shaking in my boot, 18, 19-year-old baby Josh. And my boss is like, yeah, you go do we just built the website for him. You go do the training. And I walk in and it like used to be like a Food Line or something. So there's like the old Food Line logo outside of it. And it's a big building. And I walk in, there's no front desk. It is just a labyrinth of like stage sets, and the lights are out, and there is no one up front. And so I'm like wandering around through these like point of sale setups and like old stages and things. And I'm like, hello, I'm here to do WordPress training. And I finally get them, like fast forward, like we get everybody in a room. I'm 10 minutes into WordPress training, which I was admittedly not doing a great job of, but I hear this like subtle, like, and I said, what? And I turned around, and the mother, like matriarch of the whole tribe, is
Tammy Faye.
laying. I mean, she legit, dog. She like got the
Got
hair
the big
and
hair.
everything.
Yeah, the big hair.
She's laid back at the head of the table, just snagging some Z's, baby. Like she is crushing a
Wow.
nap in the middle of a meeting. And I was like,
Jeez.
man, nothing to torpedo the confidence of a little budding creative agency boy than like you put people to sleep in one of the first meetings you ever run on your own. But
Yeah, this
they were wild.
that one thing I want to know from you, David and Josh. Like, do you guys remember your first project ever?
Ooh.
Like maybe like designing that you were like, I've never even worked on something for anyone before. Like this is like someone's taking a chance on me. Like your first paid gig or job that you did. Remember what that was?
I do. Two of them come to mind. But real quick, Josh, that was a pretty good snore sound. Was that like
He's been practicing.
some sound that you had there, or is that...
Yeah, I got my soundboard. No, we keep things low budget on Making a Mark. We have just
He has his kids in the background.
soundboard. Yeah.
He has his kids in the background ready to make sounds.
Anytime we get a fart noise, get a real fart, like there's no nouns on this show.
Okay. So yeah, man, my first project that I remember, I wasn't even a graphic designer. To be honest, I can't remember how it even happened. So, all right. So now I have three. So my very first one, I was in high school. I was a senior, and my buddy started a kind of like a small group on Wednesday nights, I believe, after school, obviously, 7 o'clock, and it was just guys. And they wanted to come up with a logo for the small group. And honestly, I can't remember what it was, something fire. So I drew the logo, and my buddy took it to a printing company and had it embroidered on shirts. So I thought that was wild. That was pretty cool. So technically that was my first project ever. Which wasn't even a paid project at all. But to see something that I drew embroidered, like that was really cool.
Yeah, it really came to life for you there.
Yeah. My second one, I still wasn't a designer. I may have drawn this one as well, but it was for my church that I was at. I was 19, out of high school, and we went to summer camp. And that was printed on a shirt. That was pretty cool. So So yeah, looking back, those were super fresh, not even a designer, and thinking that was pretty awesome.
To this day, like seeing anything you've made or touched like come to real life is always like, I mean, I'm a typically like a digital guy. Like I'm not typically whipping out paper. I'm not painting on the weekends. Like I enjoy all the ease, convenience, efficiency of like, oh, you don't like it? Let's edit it. And like just everything stays digital. But there is still that moment where like you see something that you made come to life, and whether it's signage or, you know, piece of merch or some mural or something, you're like, wow, that's kind of cool. Like that's going to live on a little bit longer than the pixels potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I do have my very first legit project. That one wasn't paid, but I would say that that really started my passion to pursue graphic design. So I lived in Dallas, grew up in Dallas, and my brother and some of our best friends had a band. I don't even know if they're on the internet
I
because
was about
this
to
was
say, we got to pull this up.
25 years ago.
25 years. Dang.
The name was Simeon's Journey, and to this day, they're probably to me, obviously biased, they're the best unknown band that never made it, right? But they're Christian. They just didn't have they didn't have the Christian label for themselves. So I was able to design their first album cover. That was pretty cool, really cool. And crazy thing was I didn't know anything about bad fonts or fonts that designers hate. And I kid you not, the font that I used was
Bleeding Cowboys.
No. what's the font that movie had where they're bleeding?
Oh, Avatar.
Avatar. I use that.
I love that we all like had that one ready to go.
Yeah.
Simeon's
Simeon's Journey.
Yeah.
This can't be it because I think this is something else. But boy, oh boy!
Well, they're using
no, that's not it.
Look at that. That Simeon's Journey on that.
Isn't that the font?
It is.
Yeah. That's
Look
crazy.
at this.
That's not the cover.
Spiritual Truth Seekers.
That's the Avatar font.
I still have
this
the
is
artwork.
so wild.
Have you seen that SNL skit with Ryan Gosling about Papyrus, the font?
Yeah, he's talking about Avatar.
Yeah,
it's like talks about why that was the perfect choice for like 10 minutes.
He like sees a therapist about it.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
What about you, Dustin? You got a first project ever story?
My graphic journey, man. Like I was always into art. Like my mom's like a realist painter. Like she was an art teacher my whole life. So like just learning art all along the way was like encouraged. And then in college saw somebody with Photoshop, but like was too poor to have a computer. So like just like watching somebody make art on Photoshop was cool and intriguing to me. And then when I came home from college, I remember the church I was at, the youth pastor was dabbling in, and he made all the graphics for the church. And I would always like sit next to him and be like, dude, how do you do that? How do you do that? And then I remember like the first graphic I made for the youth group at the church I was at was it was just like their name, like I forget the name of it, but then I just put like it was like
ignited
a space background, and I typed the word of the youth group, and then I put lens flare render over top of the word, and I was just like, that is the sickest thing I've ever done. And then like it was like my screensaver for my computer, it was like my phone screensaver, it was like everything. I was like, this is so sick. And and then yeah, man, I remember like only making like 3 or 4 graphics, and then my wife went to a different church, and she wasn't my wife at the time, we were just dating, but I wanted to get engaged, and the church, and funny thing is that's where we still go today, but nice. they were like, awesome. Hey, we want to hire you, but like we need you to not just do music, we need you to do graphic design, and Kara said you do graphic design and you do video and website and everything, and I had never done a website, I'd never done a video, I'd only made like 4 graphics on Photoshop with the lens flares, and I was like, oh dude, I could totally do all that stuff.
I got you, fam.
And
then lens flare will travel.
I just freaking moved to Toledo, and I was like, did music and did graphics. and just like jumped in the deep end and like started watching YouTube tutorials. But I knew I loved it. I knew I was passionate about it. I just didn't, the proof wasn't there that I could even like come up with creative ideas. And back then it probably was a lot of like copying what other people were doing. But
Hey, what year was that?
that
Just
was
curious.
2008.
Man, Dustin
Yeah.
is on it with these like
Yeah.
dates
You're
because
the- you're the
I
OG.
truly do not know
Yeah,
what date, like
2008
when all that
was when
stuff
I started
started.
doing design.
That's
That's
great.
awesome.
There was
Dude.
a website back then that Joe Cavazos and me talked about called, it's a weird name called Abduzido, like 2 E's.
I feel like I've heard of this.
Abduzido. And it was just like every week they would have a tutorial.
It's
Like-
still a thing.
Is it? So
Yeah,
every
I'm
week
pulling
they'd be
it up.
like, here's how to make text with fire, realistic looking fire coming out of it. Here's how to make a frozen looking text. And like every week I would
Wow,
illustrate
a lot of
tutorials.
ads.
Click on that tutorial one on the left, on that the tutorials link.
Oh goodness, close. Man, they are making some money on ads.
Yeah, it used to not be.
80s
See,
vibes.
I would just click on one of those, dude, and it would just walk you through step by step, and I would just like
That's
stay
cool.
up all night in my 1-bedroom studio apartment for $100 a month, and like while people were getting shot and robbed outside, I was just like in my room, cowered under a blanket, making graphics.
Hey Ma, I made a neon text.
Dude, I didn't care. Yeah, I was like, it was like, hey, for our business professional group, can you make like a graphic for us? And I was like, dude, I just watched this tutorial on like fire effect. Like, I'm definitely using that. Like, that's gonna. It didn't matter what the events.
Yes.
I just wanted to try new things.
That is
Hey,
something that I distinctly remember is like when you're at that younger design
Yeah.
stage, it's less of like, yes, your amount of tools that you have access to, your skill, all that stuff is lower. But also you're just like, dog, I have the right answer for every project. And it is like some insane thing that you are currently into. Like it has nothing to do with,
No
I think
marketing.
that's what separates like, yeah, veterans
No
from maybe
marketing.
just
No
starting out.
business professionalism. Just like, what did I learn this week? I'm gonna try
Yep.
it out.
You get, which is fine if you're like giving the work away or really cheap, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And I don't know
Speaking
about.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I don't know about y'all, but back then, 2008, 2009, 10, even back in 2005, there were no real church designers that
No.
that you could search for. All you would follow was a church, and you'd be
Yeah.
like, "Who is designing this stuff?"
Yeah.
And that was right along the time where Elevation Church came up,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously changed the game as far as church graphics and branding and logos and colors. Right, everything exploded. At least that's what I remember. But it was Elevation, Fellowship Church in Dallas,
Life
Life
Church.tv was
Church,
putting out cool series.
Andy Stanley's church. There was only a handful, and I would try to mimic everything they did. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Dude, a lot of like the funny thing is, I'm with you, David. Like people were sending me like when you would Google sermon series, like that's all you would find is like the Elevation. You know, I could even name all the series that they used to do that I thought were amazing.
The F-bomb.
Yeah, the F-bomb series, and you know, Purple Monster, whatever, tipping
Purple
cow.
Leader.
Cow
Yeah.
tipping. There's like a bunch of different ones, but yeah, I remember Googling sermon series and like, you know, screenshotting a bunch of them, and then come to find like Joe Cavazos, and then like if you look at his like deep stuff like way back when, like he was the one doing that, like that Wizard of Oz series for some of these big churches. Like he used to like do all this illustration, like hand illustration stuff.
Yeah,
and it was just back then. That's
his old stuff is still way better than mine today.
Yeah, I
That's
could agree with my stuff as well. Yeah,
I don't know if I've seen like the super old Joe stuff. I popped my head above water a couple years after you guys, so he was into like photo manipulation stuff and kind of like chilling out on social media a little bit more. But
so in 2013, I left my church and I went on my own to do design because a pastor friend of mine gave me the idea. He's like, you know, you're kind of burnt out on working at a church. You don't, you know, going to 10 meetings a day, it doesn't really excite you. I was like,
You're
he's like,
so crazy. Can't believe
he's
10
like, how
meetings a
about,
day wasn't doing it for you.
he kind of gave me the idea. He's like, how about you just like work for yourself and like help my church plant, and like I could get your name out there to other church planters and churches, and you can keep working for your church. I was like, wow, like I was just like never even thought like that. And then I did that for a few years, and I thought the couple years that I was doing it at the beginning, I thought there's no one else doing this. Like I'm just, on my own. And then I came across David, and I remember hitting him up. He was doing like all Rock City stuff, which was like a big reference point of a lot of churches. And I'm like, dude, this guy is so good. And I'm like, oh my God, he lives in Dallas, and Rock City's in Columbus, Ohio, where I live. And I was like, dude, I hit
You
David
can work
up
for people not in your city.
Well, just finding the other people that were doing it was like such a
Yeah.
cool feeling. And in that community of like other freelancers, like freelancing's still kind of new, I guess, within the last 4 or 5 years. But yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how even that whatever you want to call it, that freelance
era.
era.
I think y'all are like the
field that
first
we're
wave
in.
of church creatives.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, even Joe Cavazos was doing what he was doing without social media. Like that's pretty OG right there. And
Yeah.
then here comes us, which I had guys that I finally found that I would look to and super inspired by. And now to be able to do what we do, I mean, to me, it's an honor. It's incredible. And same thing, my pastor that I served under for 10 years. This was early on. So I served at the church for 10 years. I was on staff there, sorry, which is serving as well. But he told me like two or 3 years in, he's like, hey, I see you having your own business in graphic design one day. And just him telling me that kind of blew my mind, right? And then from that moment, I always had in the back of my mind, what would that look like? And I always thought I would have like a building, not knowing what it would look like. I had no clue how to dream it. So that was always in the back of my mind, and it's pretty cool how God can use people, men people in general, to guide you and lead you in a way.
That's
on
what
a
I was
path.
about to ask you both, is like both of y'all had somebody tell you like, yo, dog, like go launch your own thing. Do you feel like that's like a necessary step for anybody doing that? Or like and maybe a better question is, would you have done it eventually, whether somebody was like kind of pushing you that direction or planting that seed or not?
I don't think so.
I mean, I wouldn't have, no.
Dang,
Yeah, I don't think I would. It wasn't even in my radar to have a business, just because my family background. My parents are both immigrants from Mexico, and they came from nothing, right? So when they came, they found themselves great jobs. My dad was in masonry for 30 years, just grinding in the cold and the snow and the heat. They couldn't work in the rain, obviously, but so they were
like stable
yeah,
job. Don't
just
go
have
crazy.
a stable job. To me, 40,000 a year was like a goal, and just to be able to dream of what could be was far from my thoughts. So looking back, I think it's necessary to believe in people. I think when you have a chance, especially like us, we've already lived a little bit of life. We've been designing for a long time. Encourage the younger generation, push them forward, share their stuff, whatever. You never know how it can impact them.
Bro, I was in 2013, before I quit my job. At that point, I was 26 years old, just had a kid 3 months before, wanted to buy a house. We were like living in that, like I posted a picture of that when I made that graphic on my social, the house that me and my wife lived in, and 700 square feet, just making 25 grand a year after taxes, like the American dream wasn't really a possibility, like to own a home or to have, I didn't have insurance. And this was serving the church 90 hours a week or whatever. I was like, dude, I was like, what's the end game here? I didn't really know. I didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs. I came from a family of pastors. So like everyone in my family's a minister or in ministry. So I knew I wanted to serve the Lord with my talents, but just had no idea that I could serve the Lord by myself, like running my own business outside of the church and work for churches. So I often talk about that a lot to anyone asking, but it's just so rewarding to like look, 10 years later and be like, I've helped hundreds of churches, not just my own church locally. I literally, this crazy story I tell is I worked for this church and they went to Guatemala and they did a mission trip and they seriously ran into a kid and he said, Dustin Cooper Graphics does your guys' design for for your church. Wow. He goes, he taught me how to do design through his Instagram page and I follow him. Please tell him I said hi. I was like, awesome. Dude, what the heck? Like working in my cubicle in 2008, making 25 grand a year, I would have never, ever thought that I would have any reach or impact. I always knew I wanted to. I just didn't know how that would look. Yeah. So it's kind of cool, man. It's just, we are pioneering. I think me and David have been doing it a while, but it's humbling, man. It's wild. I never would have thought.
Yeah. That's awesome. Hey, speaking of the house, that graphic that you posted about your house, it resonated with me so much, and that's why I had commented on it. So I recently went to Dallas, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna swing by my old stomping grounds, and I had my oldest daughter with me, and I was like, I've shown her before, but now that she's older, she's 14, going on 15. I think she'll understand a little bit more, and just to see the area that I grew up in, the house that I grew up in, and just to see what that does to her mind. So I took a picture real quick. I don't know if you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of bright.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's really bright. But yeah, I took a picture of the house. I thought it was really cool.
Yo, would you guys say this is going off what Josh just asked about, would we ever taken that risk if someone didn't believe in us and push us in the right direction? But dude, we're all married here. And I think I always say, your wife, and I would, if my wife were sitting here, I would say this, your wife is either your superpower or your kryptonite, man. Like she's either like the person you marry also has a lot to do with, I think, success. And they could either like deter you from everything you're supposed to do with your life, and vice versa. We could do the same for our wives, like deter them from what they're supposed to do or success. Yeah. But I think we all have. I've never met David's wife. I've met Josh's wife, but just from watching from an outside in, I know that you come from a healthy household, and I think our wives probably encourage us all to take risks. And that's hard to find, man. Like someone who tells you can do it every day, who believes in you. I think that's all part of the success formula as well that we don't get to talk about or that people don't see.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. I know for me, I don't tell anyone. I don't go to anyone with my most insecurities about business, about ideas that I want to do. And if my wife were to shoot that down, I just wouldn't pursue anything. So the fact that she encourages me, I would say daily, if not, anytime I come to her with whatever I'm feeling, about the business or just the dream that I have, like she's always there to have my back. And I do the same for her, but she has no interest in business. So
yeah, I mean, my wife owns her own salon, and in the pandemic, she was like, "I want to buy this space. It came available. Like, what do you think?" Me and my sister I've always wanted to own our own salon together, and
wow.
And we were like, dude, like the world's coming to an end. Like whatever, let's jump off the bridge. Like, and it's doing so good, man. Like 2 years in, and so now we're both entrepreneurs, and our kids get to kind of see this different life that we never had. either of us, and just like, doing your own thing, being your own boss, the responsibility it takes, how to communicate with people, how to treat people,
awesome.
how to make money, how to not make money, all the failures that we learn along the way. I don't know about you, David, when you lose like a big retainer client, because I know we both do church retainers, and I bet my first instinct is to panic, man. Like, I'm like, oh my God, like that's, $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month. And my wife's always like, don't even rush. Don't even don't run after the first person that comes your way, because you don't know if that'll mess your business up. And I'm always like, dang, like she always takes the pressure off. And I think that's like, dude, I love her so much, but she's always kind of like, pump the brakes, like don't make another Vive mistake. And
I think that could be like, I think that our spouse is like, God gives us like what we need. Because like I don't need somebody to, I need somebody to help me edit, right? Like I need somebody to rein it in a bit, Josh. Like, okay, come on. That's too weird. People don't like that. Don't be like that way. Like you can do that on your own time. People don't want to see that, hear that from you. Right. And so my wife is like a really good balance in that aspect. And then she also like great motivator. Like sometimes I need a fire under my butt. Not so much like there are some things that drive me. And like, I'm always going to finish the project. I always care about this, but like, hey, can we do one more thing? Can we make it work? Can we figure this out? A lot of times I think I would say, I don't know, play it safe kind of thing. And so she's been invaluable in that regard for sure. And I've heard plenty of other stories of whether the spouse is like directly involved in the business and like running the books and one person's doing the, creative part or whatever. But like I think the definitely 1 + 1 = 3 if you get the right other factor in there for sure.
I always say, I still always say I work for free, even though I know it's not for free. Like I'm charging people, but I never see a dollar. Like my wife handles all the finances, all the checks coming through the mail. They go to her. Like I just, do the PayPal transfers to her. I'm like, dude, I don't even like touch the money. I don't see the money. I just like keep working. Like I want to
unpack that. And that's exactly how that's exactly how me and my wife work. I didn't say she doesn't want to do business. She doesn't want to have her own business. So she helps me a lot with the business. She does all the finances. She does all the taxes, which has been crazy this year. And she helps me project manage. So that her doing that takes a huge load off of me.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
And just helps me have my mind on creative in the creative space, which is incredible.
Hey,
so
Josh.
I want to ask y'all though.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, like for me, the times where I'm like, oh, I'm burned out. Oh, I'm tired of doing the work. Oh, I just want to take a break. I want to do something else. It is the swift kick in the pants that I need once a month where I'm like, all right, we reset the clock. We need to go find projects to fill up this amount of work again this month. And like, I don't care how far on or off pace we are. It like stirs up this competitive side of me. Like I'm not competitive with other people, competitive with myself, goals and data. And so when I'm like, oh shoot, like we're killing it. I like the fire is that much more. Or if I'm saying, oh, like we're doing really bad, the fire goes up. So like either way, it is a motivator for me. And some people look at money or other numbers and get stressed out, or they prefer not to handle it that way. But so like, Dustin, do you feel any, I'm assuming y'all talk to your wives about money ever, but like y'all don't enjoy the like checking in and like figuring stuff out part of it.
Yeah. I don't. I saw this TikTok the other day that your comment reminded me, Josh, about fire starting and like how motivated you are. This guy, I saw this TikTok clip and it said, the guy, I don't even know his name. He said, if you want to be successful, have kids. Like, or you want to make, he said, if you want to make money, have kids. Cause he's like, that's like, maybe this doesn't ring true to every person, but to me, I was like, that's, to me it is, because I go, at the end of the day, man, you don't want to let these, kids down. You don't want to let your wife down. Like you got bills to pay, you got a real mortgage, you got, insurance, whatever, sports, all of it costs money. To me, I'm never stressed out about it. I'm like, I got to keep working. Not working is not an option. Like, I'm just like, I love what I get to do, but also like, I
There's
never
no
even
plan
have time
B.
to look down. Yeah, there's no bailout here. Like I'm just like doing it. So
Let me ask you this too. Like after kind of like going through this whole process of like, does bright coal even make sense? Oh, it kind of does. Oh man, it's fun. Oh, I'm doing it full time. Like things are going well. Like you keep knocking down all these like goals and realizing like this is sick. Like I love getting to do this. So there's another part of it to me, like money aside, I'm out here like pushing hard just because I want to do this again next year. Like
yeah,
I'm, it's like, you know, like professional athletes, I think half of the time they're not even, they
Right,
don't even think about the
right,
numbers. They're just like, I don't want to quit playing the game. I don't want
right.
to stop playing music and going on tour and stuff. Like I want to stay sharp so that I get to keep doing it. Like, do you guys resonate with that also?
Yeah, 100%. And this is why I want to see more of Joe Cavazos' designs. He needs to come back and post
I'm with. I say
because
that every day,
I
David.
asked him
I
about
text them that every day. I text them that all the time.
I asked him
We're
about
renaming this
three
episode
years
Joe
ago.
Cavazos.
I asked him about 3 years ago. I was like, hey man, do you see yourself designing when you're 45, 50? He's like, for life. And that itself coming from I consider him a mentor. I do from afar, and I've had many talks with him, text messages. So his words carry weight. So when he said that, I was like, it's on. I'm designing till I'm 50, 60.
I love it.
But I have dreams as well, and just taking 1 year at a time, one month at a time, one day at a time, and uh, first I like this the last couple of years really obviously I've always wanted to scale my business DNG.
Yeah. Let me know when you crack the code on that one.
That's been more difficult than I imagined, and watching Brady Shear's podcast that you guys did with him, I was inspired and I was like, man, this guy's either super brilliant or he just cracked the code and it's game over.
Dude,
Not
he's
game
good.
over, but you know what I mean? Like
Bro,
that inspires me, but at the same time, I know I can't compare myself to whoever's doing it
but
bigger
bro,
and better.
we can get into this a little bit if you want to. Like I know me and you have talked a little bit, David, back and forth about, you know, I'm not going to name names, but we like, there's been times throughout like the years where we've tried to hire people
Right.
or white label something and be like, you know, what people pay us to do. Like, you're like, okay, like I want to give it a try. That's the only way to grow as one person when you're the sole owner and designer is like every year I can just weed out, you know, these clients and get bigger clients or,
Correct.
You know, charge more and do less work or whatever. But if
I
want
a product or hire people is the only other two options.
But the hiring part, if I really, neither of us have ever had a desire to have a marketing company or, you know, have lots of employees or whatever. Like that's never been a dream of mine. But for me, even if it's like a small project, like, dude, I just want to hire someone to like during Easter or Christmas to like take some of this weight off me. Then, dude, I swear to you, the client every single time says, this looks like you did not do this. And I go,
oof. And
then I end up paying them and I end up doing it myself. And then they like it. And I'm like, when I'm not saying this to like be any sort of way you can, and I think David, it probably would hit with you is like when people come to you and they say, I want DNG to do this, it's because they saw what you do, your style. Right. They liked that. If they just wanted someone to do a design, then they would just do it in-house or have someone they know locally. Yeah. But if they like your style and they come to you and say, I want you to do it, you can't always outsource. You can't the outsourcing part of it just doesn't work. It's just like you let them down or they feel like they didn't get what they were looking for. Or you pay someone and then you end up doing it. It's like every time.
I want to ask you, Dustin, how many times have you done that? And did you like explore the spectrum of like expensive versus cheap help?
What I've done this like probably 5 times in my 10 years. That's it. Because it's just never worked. Like one option A, I'm like, a client comes to me and they're like, we want you to do a booklet. And I'm like, okay, I'll charge you $600 because it's going to take me one day. That's a day's rate is $600 or whatever. Like that's a good day's wages for one project. I'm going to work on this from 9 to 5, maybe off and on, but I'm going to get it done by 5 o'clock. I'm going to have this booklet done and I'm going to make $600. So that sounds good to me. And then I go, who could I con this off on that like loves making booklets? Because I don't love making booklets. And I'm really busy. So then I go, hey, so-and-so, do you want to do a booklet? And they're like, yeah, I charge $1,500. And I'm like, okay. Like you haven't been doing this near as long as I have.
Lose $900 on this project.
And I'm not like, I don't even make money if I give this away. So like, either I'm not charging correctly or I'm just not charging enough to pay somebody else and make money off this. Right. Like I'm charging enough for one person to do it. So usually I did this. I went to Mexico a couple of weeks ago and some projects came in and I just sent them I said, hey, like use Luke Tharp or use my friend Ariana because that's a hand-drawn
straight referral, right?
And if I would be a good project manager because I know like people's styles and what they would be good at. So I was like, hey man, you love hand-drawn. You want this Easter thing to be hand-drawn. I don't really do that. I could try. But I know someone who would really nail it and probably has comparable pricing to me. So just go straight to the source and cut out the middleman. I'll be like, I'm not going to try and take a kickback. I just want them to have a good experience and they respect me more because I sent them in the right direction. I made sure they were taken care of. And then after I came back from Mexico, the guy sent me a sermon series. It wasn't, I didn't lose the client. I wasn't threatened by sending them away. I just knew somebody else could handle that particular project better than I could. And I didn't have the time to do it. So
it's crazy how like, I thought this was like a pipe dream or it didn't make sense to me when I was younger. It's like people desperately want somebody solid to refer people to. Like as you get more established in your career, like, and you're not trying to grab everything, you're trying to grab stuff that's a good fit. You don't want to like just send it out to the, hey, I've got a video I need edited out to like an Instagram story, right? Like you want to like talk to Tony, he's your video guy, and talk to Lisa, she'll handle the lettering for you or whatever. And you want that like confidence to know like, hey, it's gonna be fine. I didn't mess them up. Like, and also I don't have to mess with it anymore, kind of thing.
Yo, David, another question for you and Josh. Like when you give advice to people, like how often do you really see them take your advice and do it? Like you're talking to like 2 tenured full-time freelancers who get asked a lot of questions on social media or in the DMs. Like, how do I start my own freelance business? How do I be on my own? How do I make the leap from full-time to at my job to being a full-time designer at home? And I can't tell you more than this many fingers. Like I've shared the formula. Like I don't feel threatened to share how to do it or whatever, but how many people actually will take the advice and put it into action and you see it work, dude. Like honestly, like Luke Tharp, I always say is like my poster child. Like I'm like, dude, like he always is like thanking me. I'm like, dude, you just are the only one I've known that like took what I said and did it, and now you're like you have more work than you can handle, and you can be on your own full time if you want. Like, I don't know. I just feel like most people never take the advice or don't want to. It doesn't work after month number 1, so they hit the panic button and go back to work or somewhere else or whatever.
Well, I think that's the thing about what we do as graphic designers or illustrators or branding and marketing or logo designers. Like when you tell people you're a graphic designer, I think they don't really know what that means. And I rarely explain to them what exactly I do. But I think to a lot of people, it may seem like it's not hard work. And it takes, for what we do, we all have mouths to feed, homes and cars and whatnot, right? It takes hard work to stay where we're at the level of projects that we're doing. And I think a lot of people don't want to put in that work. And you're talking about us 3 alone, like the stories that we're talking about, we have 10, 15 years under our belt before we even launched anything. So we can't discredit what we've done. And I think a lot of people, a lot of times it's maybe the younger generation or a young designer reaching out, and they're just not there. They're not fully ripe to just launch.
Yeah.
But like you guys reached out to me, and I think we've all reached out to one another. But y'all have taken, I'm believing that y'all took the advice that I gave back 5 years ago, whatever. One guy that comes to mind is Michael Camo. I can't take credit for all of everything that he's doing, but I know we had many talks, me and him, until he was able to launch full time. And dude, I'm so happy for him and his family. I hope that he's making a lot more than he ever made at the church he was at. So yeah, that's one guy that I think is doing an amazing job.
Yeah, he is.
Get him on the
Josh,
show.
Josh, you're hitting the 1 year mark of being full-time freelance, man. Like,
oh yeah.
Have you, has it been everything you thought and more? Has it been harder than you thought? Has it been easier than you thought? To stay busy, to make the amount of money you need to make each month?
I say this like knocking on wood. It's been better and easier than I was expecting. Been crushing it, baby. And I think part of that is, I was very late to jump off the ship. Like I think a sane person would have probably made the jump to full time, like or two of Bright Coal. And instead I waited a full like 3.5 years to get I am killing myself with between day job and how busy I am nights and weekends, and like really made sure like, hey, I've got like a healthy, I don't always know where the clients are coming from, but a pretty predictable income. And so once there's that whole thing of like momentum too. Like once you're focused on one thing, it's been really cool. Like was kind of braced for like, oh, what if I hate it? Oh, what if it doesn't go well? But so far it's been cool. Loving it.
Cool. Good.
No regrets.
Good,
Yeah. So I do want to rope in at least some crazy project stories. We've been talking a lot about life stuff. Has there ever been anything where, you're full-time freelance and you think to yourself, what the heck is happening in my life right now? This would not be a thing if I was working a 9-to-5 corporate job. And not to say you're grumbling or wish that life was different, but you're just like, this is odd. I'll go first. Like this week, my entire family was starting Monday night through really last night was vomiting everywhere. Everybody, puke city, baby. And so I'm over here like having video calls and hosting mood meetings all day Wednesday. And I'm like, hey guys, if I run away from the computer, it's because I'm throwing up. But like that's the type of stuff that's not going to happen because like you would just take a sick day. Right. And I did take some time off, but it's some of those moments or like work, like Joe's talked about, like I work in the car on the way to vacation basically every time because, in order for us to be able to do these things, like you got to make the work happen when and where you can. But does that sour the experience for me? No, it's just, those are the times where I'm like, this is kind of crazy. This is a little bit crazy. Do y'all have anything like that?
I was going to say it is crazy, but also like how great that you get to be home, like as opposed to the opposite where if your kids are sick and you just have to leave the house or you can't take care of them.
Honey, deal with it. I'm working. Yeah.
See ya.
That would be pretty rough.
See you at 7:30 tonight. Yeah. Have a good day. Yeah, man, it's cool. David, do you have any off the top of your head?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's really cool stories. There's really bad client stories. There's really crazy ones. One that comes off the top of my head is us doing what we're doing, being an entrepreneur, trying to put food on the table each and every day. When we go on vacation, it's really not a vacation. I've finally, in the last couple of years, been able to go on vacation and not work. But for the first 5-6 years, I just took my laptop, took my hard drive, and just worked every vacation.
You talking about like working full days during the day, families out on the beach, and you're cranking on
Yeah, exactly. On the
Okay.
lake, and I'm at some coffee shop that has terrible internet. Everywhere we've been to, that's been the case. So I do value those days. I'm grateful for those days, and like Dustin said, like, you know, what better, what else is better than doing that for yourself? I'd rather do that and be stressed about what I'm doing than working for a big company that really doesn't care.
Bro, for me, the like when you go off on your own, you're like, for me, it was like, I hate meetings. Like, I freaking hate meetings. I still hate meetings, but I was going from like having seriously like 10 meetings a day to like 0 meetings. So that is how I freed up all my time to just work. Like, but my point is that like I just now dude, I totally lost my train of thought. But what I want to say is, one thing that I
do the same thing.
When I went on my own, I was like, dude, I'm never gonna have a boss. Like, isn't that cool? I'm my own boss. And now I feel like I have hundreds of bosses. Like, I'm like, I have and so there's times where I'm frustrated and there's tension, but at the same time, at the end of the day, I go, at least I don't have 10 meetings a day. Like, I always come back to that one. I'm like, at least like I just like, you know, whatever. There's tension or whatever, which isn't all the time, but then like I don't have to deal with that person again until next month or whatever. Like, there's just like I'm never ever stressed to the point that I used to be, where it was like when I that's all I was.
100%.
I was like, there's just not enough time. I just came out of a meeting. I just came out of the meeting before the meeting, like, to talk about what we were going to talk about in the meeting. And I know I have every meeting that I came out of had a project for me to do. And I was like, when am I going to get to do the projects? Because I have another meeting. Like, it's just like, to me, that was like the most stressful environment. And now nothing will ever, the pros of being on your own always outweigh like going back ever to working for somebody.
Absolutely. One story that comes to mind to give you a story, Josh. It was a week before we were headed out to vacation. This was 2000, I believe it was 2016, man, if not 17. My timeline is always off. My wife will correct me. She's watching, by the way.
Say some years.
Shout out to my wife, Gabby. She's a G.
Hey, Gabby.
DNG. So yeah, we're a week out from vacation, and I get a text message from. You guys all know that I've done work for Torrin Wells, and it was his first album that he's going to come out with as a solo artist. And I get a text message and a DM, I believe it was, hey, do you want to hop on this project to design my first album cover? And that was mind blowing. And I knew I was going to go on vacation the next week. I'm like, when am I going to get this done?
That's so tough.
It was crazy. That was probably the first vacation that we had since I had launched the business. And so I said yes to the project. And so we did the first rounds before we went on vacation. And then the moment we go on vacation, it's like when everything really has to ramp up. So we're in Florida, and you can see the ocean, and I'm in the back, the deck. And I'm just cranking away. I'm working, and I have no shirt on, whatever, right? But I wasn't down there with my family. But I was okay with that because my wife was 100% in with me and supporting me. And that, if I don't have that, dude, I would have been miserable. I would have been depressed. She would have been on my back the whole time. Like, hey, when are you going to stop working?
Yeah.
So to do that project is still one of the best projects that I feel I had, which is pretty amazing to think back on. But yeah, I remember days like that, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Bro, two things that reminds me of is like, when opportunities come, and your wife is like, we should leave our date tonight and go do that. Like, dude, I told you, like, I had an opportunity to work with Mr. Beast a year ago, and that was at dinner when we were on our anniversary date. Like,
Wow.
we were like out to dinner, and then my phone freaking vibrates, and I'm like, who the heck is this? And they're like, we're doing a video with Mr. Beast. Like, we need you to do the thumbnail. And I was like, this is crazy. And she's like, we got to go check. Like, let's get the check and let's get out of here. You got to do this. And so
awesome.
that's cool.
That's funny.
But yeah, I feel like when I went to Mexico a couple weeks ago, someone hit me up from Universal Music, and they were like, we want you to do like a couple of our Universal Music festivals with like artists like The Weeknd and all these people. And I was like, holy crap,
That's
like
so
this is
cool.
the opportunity I've always wanted. And then but this is just to show you, man, I don't know if I'm getting old or what, but I was like, you know what, man, like, I'm not gonna like break my back. Like, I was like, when do you need this by? And he's like, we need it tomorrow or a couple of days from now. It was like 2 days turnaround. I said no, dude. I was like, I hope you come back to me when you have like proper lead time. I would love to work for you.
I think that's where we're at.
But I was like, I'm going to Mexico in 3 days, and I'm already like trying to cram all of next week's work into these 48 hours.
Ain't that the way it goes though?
But how did that happen?
Like,
yeah,
your
the universe
are
knew.
full, or you got vacation. Yes. It's like, oh,
the
that's
universe
when the dream. Like, that's when like you get invited to go. Like, I mean, I turned down a trip last week, and I'm glad I did. But it was like something like year one, I would have like paid big bucks to go do. It was like, hey, do you want to be in the room while we're doing live recording for this conference full of basically full of clients? Like, do you want to go hang out with top tier clients for 3 days? And I was like, I have to say no to this. Like, I just cannot make that work. And it's like, why did this not come up 6 months ago, or, you know, whatever else? But it's wild. Send them to the other Dustin. Dustin Harper has a home for all of your runoff clients, Cooper.
I will. I'll send them to you.
I love that. Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of this, it feels like the themes for these episodes kind of come out during the episode, so I should just stop trying to name them in advance. But I feel like part of it might be motivation too, because I'm realizing, even just looking through my like dumb list of stories that I was going to tell about old agency clients, how much of those are just like motivation for me not to have to do that stuff anymore. Like, Dustin, yours was, I don't want to be in meetings, and mine is, I don't want to chase like idiotic plans. Like, if it's a dumb way of doing things, if the client is just wrong, and like, or if just like the whole business model is stupid, like, that sucks the life out of me, right? And being able to go out on your own, like, take some risk. You're doing this not to over glamorize, you know, freelancing necessarily, but I think a lot of it does come down to, like, you are free then to choose how to align your business with your life goals. And if you're smart, you can like align it with your, you know, are you a high energy in the morning person? Like David, working in the middle of the day on vacation sounds like hell to me. But would I stay up at night and work on vacation? Yes, I did that all last summer. And so, like, there, you know, you're just figuring out like what's cool for your family, and like, what do you like, and if you're willing to put in the reps, like, it's real doable. It's real doable.
I think that's I've been really thinking about seasons lately, just seasons in itself, and I feel like life has so many seasons in it. I know for me, like, I try to create a what do you call it, schedule, a routine. I created a routine back in 2020, and it started small. It ended up getting bigger than I wanted. But that lasted a year, and I love that. I love that season. But and now it's just, I'm in a different season of life. And when I started the business, like, the first 2 years was a different season, where I would work till 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning. And my wife was supporting that as well. So I think us going through seasons, and now we're in a season where we can decline the work that just doesn't fit our schedule or family events. I know for you guys, because I follow you, and it's the same for me. Like, my family means a lot. Like, I value my family time, and most of my time I spend with them. Not that we don't have friends and whatnot. I am reclusive, but I do have friends. But For the most part, dude, I spend all my time with my family, and I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't trade it for the world. Being able to work at home and be able to impart into my kids each and every day, like, hey, how was school? And they, they tell you a story of what happened, and to
Yeah.
be able to be able to give them feedback or advice in that moment, like that's huge. That's
Dude,
daily.
me and my wife get to eat lunch together. We go out to eat like 3 times a week. Like,
That's
and that's
dope.
I wouldn't do that if I worked at a normal job. Like I'll just
Yeah,
she'll be like, I got off work I get off at 11:30. Like, or today I'm done. I have no clients after 11:30. I'll be like, I'll meet you. I'll leave right now. I'll meet you at a restaurant and we'll just
I
like
love
hang
that.
out for an hour. Yeah, man, it's the
yeah,
best.
yeah.
That's
So,
dope.
Josh,
So
we're on
you
an
guys
hour. Do we have things we got to hit? I haven't been on
yeah, I
your
want
show
to
in a
ask.
while.
I want to ask
This isn't
one
a
last
3 hour
question
podcast.
here.
No.
What is your? Yeah, it's a 3 hour. It's like the Lord of the Rings of podcasts.
Joe Rogan.
Hop on
Right.
there. One of my favorite, legit. The episodes are like 6 or 7 hours each, and it's a history podcast called
Wow.
Hardcore History, and we'll do like, Genghis Khan parts 1 through 5, and each episode is 6 hours long. And the
Wow.
crazy thing is, you get yourself like sucked in, and it's like you're listening to an audiobook because you're just like, we're
Yeah.
4 hours in, and I am not counting the time, but that's a separate thing. So you guys are both been doing this a while, and y'all do a very different model of business than me. Y'all are retainer focused. What is the longest term retainer that you've had?
10 years. Like the whole time I've been doing it.
That's right. You had your.
I have 2 churches that I still work with the entire 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah, mine's 7. Since I started, I probably have 3 of them that are still with me, and that's an incredible feeling in itself. Um, just being able to pivot and serve them better than how you did the
Yeah.
first year. It's pretty cool to look back and still have them around. I think that in itself speaks volumes. Like to be able to have a
Yeah.
client that you've had for 10 years. That's
Josh,
awesome.
do we have like 2 minutes?
Yeah.
we,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. We don't have a
pressed
hard
on?
stop
I
time.
wanted to ask David, like, so what you just said reminded me, like, when you've dealt with the same client for 10 years or 7 years, do you go like, here's where, like, for me, we're not problems, but like there's always like, you need to revisit everything because what you agreed to 7 years ago, or what the terms were 7 years ago or 10 years ago, like or the person who brought you on 7 or 10 years ago, in my case or your case, like they're gone. That creative director moves on or whatever, and you're still there. It's like and now you're dealing with the new person, and they don't communicate as good, or they don't know that they're supposed to give you a correct amount of lead time, or they give terrible creative direction, and the other guy was really good at it, or whatever. Like that happens every couple years. Like that's what's crazy to me. But and we still all work together. But yeah, that's always like some tension points that are inevitable. But yeah,
and that's a part of business too. Like being able to deal with different personalities and seeing that, you know what I mean? Like, well, that guy was really descriptive in his creative direction, and this creative director hardly gives any. And you just outweigh or just communicate what you need, and that's been cool and different for me to like really push myself to communicate. I'm still not great at it, but you best believe I want to be better at it every year.
Always growing, baby.
Yeah.
I love it, guys. Well, this has been a blast, and it's great catching up with y'all. I know we don't get to talk as much as we want to. Before we can wrap up any episode of Making It Marked Out, we got to get out our piece of paper and our Sharpie, and we are going to design based on, we've got 60 seconds, and we're going to go based off of the prompt our wonderful chat group has submitted for us today. We're going to be drawing a cowboy riding a unicorn, or unicorn cowboy, however you want to splice those together. Give you a little baby second to ruminate. Draw fat and thick because it's going to be in the episode art. Friends that are watching live, if you want to, it just said cowboy, unicorn, either one, both, whatever you want to do. Unicowboy.
Okay.
And if you're watching us live, feel free to draw, and then you can email those to hello@brightcoal.com. We'll include them in the episode art. Ready? Go.
Yep. I have not seen the chat, so shout out to everybody that's hopped on.
Your wife was in there fixing all the dates that you got wrong. It was great.
Wow. That's hilarious.
She said, I'll include them in the show. I'll include correct dates in the show notes later.
Dude, this is going to be bad.
Same.
Oh, yeah. That's the name of the game for these little drawing prompts, because they be 60 seconds is a very small amount of time. You don't realize it until you get in here and start rolling. It is not a lot of time, baby. Boop, boop. And that's the number one thing that I see from first-time guests is they're over-ambitious with what they think they can get done in 60 seconds. I start working on some elaborate piece, and then before you know it, bing bong, time is up. And it actually, you got 2 seconds. Time is up.
Mine kind of looks like a
Right
dolphin.
in the kisser.
Oh, okay.
I'm kind of cheating. I went off.
That's okay.
I'm
It's
done.
okay. You're the guest. Dustin should know how to do this kind of by now. He's been on the show a few times.
This is
Dave,
bad.
you get a little break. Everybody, show your beautiful work.
Oh,
Yes, Dustin.
I missed the horn.
I love
There
it. Just had that. Oh wait, do unicorns have wings?
I don't know.
I
Do
think
they?
they.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Landon, you were the one in the chat that said unicorn. Does your daughter?
thinking of-
Do they
I'm
have
thinking of
wings or not? I don't
Shutterfly.
know.
Shutterfly.
I'm trying to get it from the horse's mouth here, no pun intended. So I went. We're gonna have to pitch to the class now. I went with conservative because I said drawing a horse is very hard. I'm gonna just draw a hat and put a little unicorn on it and let people interpret that how they will. And I got to be honest, it's probably one of the better drawings. They do not have wings. The jury has weighed in.
Wow.
Probably one of the better prompts that I've done, but I also saw it. I had more time to prep than you guys mentally because I saw it come through about 10 minutes ago. Dustin, what you got?
Yeah. I couldn't really remember what a unicorn looks like, but I started with the hat, and then I drew the horse kind of dolphin looking thing, and then I was like, oh crap! I started to draw I thought the horn was gonna come out of here, but then I was like, oh wait, it comes out of the top of their head. So then I drew that
Oh my
next,
God.
and then yeah.
Yeah.
Pegasus. That's what has wings. That's right. I
Oh,
like him. He
Pegasus,
reminds
yeah.
his mouth reminds me of the little like reef fish that have like the hard chompers that like will bite little crabs and
or
stuff.
like I can
open.
like stick my hand up inside him and be like,
He's a chompy horse.
yeah.
I love that.
There
David,
you
what
go.
you got?
Yep. So my daughter does barrel racing, so I'm around horses all the time. I thought I'd give it a shot.
Yeah,
He's
dude.
well acquainted.
This was a horse. I think it looks like a buffalo's head.
I like that.
I did add some wings. I thought it had wings, but I guess not. And this is some type of church hat going on there. Not
Yeah,
a
that's like
cowboy
an Easter
hat,
Sunday
Like-
hat.
right?
That's like the Easter Sunday hat, like the women wear at the church.
Derby Day, baby. That's
The
that's
derby
good.
hats. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and apparently it
That's
has
good.
three legs, I guess. I
Yeah,
use the fourth leg.
he's missing a leg.
Yeah.
yeah.
Who needs three?
That's
Who
funny.
needs four
You
legs
don't
when you
even
have
need
a
them
wing?
when you have
Like,
wings. Yeah, exactly.
I would
Right.
I would swap a leg for a wing any day of the week. Like if you can only halfway fly, that's still way cooler than walking anywhere.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Hey guys, that's going to be a wrap for today. Huge shout out to our guest for today's episode and Dustin, my special co-host for today. We'll
Hey,
have links
thanks for
for everybody
having me.
down
That was fun.
in the
Thank
show
you, man.
notes.
Follow
Thank
me
you,
at
guys.
DNG Creative.
Dustin is the shameless plugger of other people's
Oh,
stuff.
that's cool, dude. I saw that, but I didn't realize you did that. Thank you, Dustin. And
Yeah.
you rocking my
Yeah,
hat. I
he's had
appreciate
DNG
that.
up on the whole time.
That's
You just
awesome.
now noticed that, David? We've been talking for an
Yeah,
hour
that's
and you
crazy.
just saw the hat.
Dustin
We'll
Cooper's
specifically
always
have a
encouraging.
link for.
Yeah, man.
It's all love, man.
You need
David,
to
do
come
still
out with
have
some
those
more
hats in
merch.
stock?
I don't. I did sell out of the hats. And
Oh, fat
I didn't
bummer.
sell. I didn't sell out as much of the shirts that I wanted, but I will come out with some more hats, which I'm excited about. But I'm in no rush. That's not what I do full
You're
time.
talking to the two hat guys, so we could never use
Hat
two
boys.
hats, so
Oh, I have a ton of hats.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dang, we should have a hat episode at some point. I think that's a great idea. Guys, if you want to see a hat episode, leave a comment below. But we're going to have to land the plane on this puppy. Love y'all. Adios.